that. Second topic is on a recent on the most recent episode of Monday Night Raw, we saw Rhea Ripley repeatedly intervening in matches involving male superstars.
Yes.
Notably, she shields Dominic Mysterio during Judgment Day segments. In our view, does this dynamic enhance or detract from Rhea's overall character, especially from the perspective of casual wrestling fans? So I'm torn here. It works from a bad guy's perspective, right? From being the heels, it definitely adds to the story of Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio. I think that what they're building with that story goes even deeper than what we see on TV. There's an angle when they finally decide to break them apart that's going to be extremely interesting, and it'll be extremely interesting if there's a match that pits Rhea Ripley against Dominic Mysterio at some point.
That would be cool.
I think that is the culmination of that story. That could actually make sense, but as a whole, I don't love the idea of Rhea Ripley getting physical with male superstars because there's always this crutch, and the crutch is that the male superstars can't fight back. It's lose-lose for your male talent. So while I guess it appears to make Rhea Ripley feel like that China type character where, she can mix it up with the guys. But the reality is someone like Kevin Owens isn't going to swing back, right?
No.
You're not going to take a character like that and have them be the one that hits Rhea Ripley back.
Austin Theory in my mind.
I'm not jumping into that. I don't know why. I mean,
that just popped in my mind. Like I can see that.
And there's been instances in WWE where male wrestlers have fought women wrestlers. It just still doesn't quite feel right? At one time there was a guy named James Ellsworth. And he was like, I believe, the women's champion for a while.
Yeah.
Which was funny. It made sense. He was a scrawny dude. The story was that the only title he could win basically was to beat up on the women. And it was actually kind of a funny storyline because it made sense. I don't love the idea of, like, if we're headed towards a repeat of what they did with China, where, like, Rhea Ripley starts getting involved in the men's Royal Rumble or Intercontinental title matches. I think it does, number one, a disservice to the male superstars, not because it's not based on, like, oh, men are stronger than women. It's based on this idea that we're kind of taught men don't hit women.
Yeah.
So you see, like, when Rhea steps in, you see the male superstars pull back.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. So then you put them in the awkward situation where, like, oh, you have to be in a match with this woman. Also, to me, creates this extremely wide gap of believability in the women's division.
That's exactly what popped in my head.
If Rhea Ripley is able to fight someone, let's just say, like Kevin Owens, and mix it up with Kevin Owens, you can't the next week expect me to believe that Zelina Vega is going 30 minutes with Rhea Ripley in a match. It's like those two things don't align to me. It doesn't make sense. So as long as Rhea Ripley is the bad guy, and as long as it's just her stepping in front of Dom and the tactic actually is Rhea Ripley understands that they're not going to hit her back, I love it. It's a heel tactic. It works. The minute it crosses the boundary of, like, oh no, we're really teasing, like, matches between Rhea Ripley and male superstars, I think that's going to cause problems in your booking long term. I do think it works, though, that at some point Rhea Ripley fighting Dominic Mysterio, especially if they're going to lean into the, like, Dominic Mysterio is the most hated superstar in WWE, it would make sense to have Dom wrestle against Rhea Ripley and possibly cheat to win. Because I don't know how long Rhea Ripley can stay a bad guy. The crowd loves her.
Yeah.
And I'm a person who's okay with, like, the crowd loving a bad guy, but WWE tends to panic in that situation and go, they like her too much. We've got to make her a good guy. So I don't know how long before they peel Rhea off and not necessarily turn her good, but lay into this idea that, like, she's not good, she's not bad, she's one of those in-between superstars. Whereas I think Dominic Mysterio at this point has cemented himself. I don't think there's a path where Dominic Mysterio's ever a liked superstar. Which is so funny because his dad is one of the most liked superstars.
But in my opinion, like, do you think that it's because they brought him up too early and he wasn't, like, as prepared as the other wrestlers. Because when I first started watching him, I was disappointed in like his lack of certain abilities because he didn't have that experience like the other people.
Do I think that's why people don't like him? No, I think people don't like Dominic Mysterio because he was booked extremely well. And it's a mixture of what you're saying. His skill set doesn't match the way he's booked, but he was booked so well as a bad guy that the crowd had no choice but to hate him. He's a spoiled fucking kid turning on his dad, turning on his mom, turning on his sister. He's this like submissive kind of little bitch boy who follows Rhea Ripley around, but then acts tough and acts hard. Like the booking in that story was phenomenal. And shout out to Dominic Mysterio for actually going, oh, I can play this character.
It's the hair for me.
Because there was a point in time where I thought, they're going to try and push Dom to be bigger than he is and more talented than he is. But he's actually kind of laid into this position of like, Rhea fights my battles and Rhea's there to, and the Judgment Day kind of protect me, but I still can be cocky and lay into, and he's subtly laying into the Eddie Guerrero stuff, which has been fun. I think the booking on Dominic Mysterio has been superb, and that is why the crowd loves to hate him.